Good morning to you all, and I welcome you to this meeting of the Tayside Contracts Joint Committee. I would also like to remind the Joint Committee that the public part of the meeting will be recorded and placed on Tayside Contracts website for public viewing. Members should keep their microphone on mute throughout the meeting unless they are speaking. I will now ask the clerk to run us through the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll start with the roll call. Councillor Nicholl.
Present.
Councillor Fotheringham.
Present.
Councillor Cruikshanks.
Present.
Councillor Grant Stewart.
Present.
Councillor Shepherd.
Present.
Councillor Durnall.
Present.
Councillor Cuthbert.
Present.
Councillor McCall.
Present.
Councillor Tommy Stewart.
Present.
Councillor Welch.
Present.
Councillor Forbes.
Good morning, I'm here.
Councillor Shears.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Mills.
Good morning, I'm here.
Councillor Lynn.
Present.
Councillor Short.
Here.
Councillor Scullen.
Morning, I'm here.
Councillor Shears.
Apologies for Councillor Shears, please.
Thank you. And Councillor Duncan.
Here.
And that completes the roll call. That takes us to item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations?
I've had none.
No, I don't see any indication, so I'll move on to item 3, minutes of previous meeting. The committee is asked to approve the minutes of previous meetings of the 25th of August and the general purposes subcommittee minute from the 31st of July, 27th of August and 4th of September.
We appear to have one hand up from Councillor. I have to stand up to see you. Forbes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, convener. At the last meeting, you'll remember I raised the issue of meat-free days regarding school meals. Dougie and I have had a discussion about this, and I wondered if there was anything Dougie would like to add or perhaps update the committee on.
Dougie, would you like to reply to that?
Yeah, no problem, convener. Yeah, Councillor Forbes. So, as I committed at the last meeting, we would gather information round about the meat-free days. We have identified that the request for a meat-free day had initially come through from the councils as a specific request. So I'm just gathering some information, been liaising with committee services and our partner councils just to ensure that that is the case. And that'll determine how we take that forward. So your request of information being provided to the joint committee to potentially make a decision if that should continue or not. I'm not so sure that's actually going to be sitting with this particular joint committee, but could be sitting with the councils. So we are continuing to get the information. It's been a bit longer than what I would like, but that's due to across, I think, all organisations, not just Tayside Contracts. There's been quite a lot of those who were involved in the process at the time no longer with Tayside Contracts with the various councils.
Thank you. Any more questions on the minutes of the meetings? If not, is that agreed? Agreed.
Thank you. Item 4, membership. The first is for Dundee City Council. This is to advise that Councillor Ken Lynn has been appointed of Tayside Contracts Joint Committee as a replacement for Bailey Christina Roberts, who has resigned. This is for noting.
Can this be noted? Noted.
Thank you. And the second is for Perth and Kinross Council, and this is to advise that Councillor Grant Stewart has been appointed of a member of the Tayside Contracts Joint Committee as a replacement for Councillor Grant Lane, and this is for noting.
Can this be noted as well?
Noted. Noted.
Thank you. That takes us to item 5, quarterly performance update, quarter 2. 1st of July 2025 to 30th of September 2025, and this is for no time.
Dougie, would you wish to introduce this report?
Yes, thanks, Convener. So what I'll do is I'll give an overview of the key points from the particular performance over that. So as the report states, outlines the performance highlights, challenges and progress for Q2, which was from the 1st of July to the 30th of September. The basis of that is the Joint Committee dashboard that's available and live to all Joint Committee members. We will continue through these particular reports this year, just to embed that particular link and the guidance to using that, with the view to having a review at the end of the 12-month period. So the report itself highlights in the first particular section, section 5.1, is a summary of the sort of what we call the RAG, red, amber, green, of the various parts of the dashboard. That's a new introduction that I've put in just for this particular report. As I said, it's something that we'll continue to develop. So out of those particular key areas, themes that we've identified, there is one particular area that isn't where we would expect that to be. That's in relation to the complaints in states in relation to catering. We don't have all the compliments and complaints in a holistic way as yet. That's something that we're working on through our business plan objectives, but they're higher than what we would expect and had targeted. However, nothing that's causing us of a particular concern. So that's the particular points round about that. I'll come on to that a bit further. So school meal uptake, I'm pleased to say that it remains strong at 88% of the budget figures. So that's figure 1 of the report. Meals are slightly lower than expected within PKC. Not something of a great concern, but just want to highlight here so that we're being as balanced as we can. So reasons for that: there was for the previous 2 years quite a significant increase in the uptake within Perth and Kinross. So all partners agreed to continue to budget on that trajectory of increasing meal uptake. Unfortunately, that's levelled out compared to the previous couple of years. Some other contributing factors that we feel have impacted on the meal numbers within Perth and Kinross is there's been some negative publicity, I think, petitions, media. We know particularly within the rural areas where there's been some changes there. We've also had a price increase within Perth and Kinross as well on the meal price within that. So from what Perth and Kinross actually are asking for parents to pay. And then there's also been some around about the secondary schools. We've had some new meal outlets that have come out, which is just putting a bit of pressure. So they're adding into the benefits of pupils not having to take the healthy alternatives that we are trying to promote through the school setting. On the positive sides, the school meal uptake based on the school roll, so within Angus sitting at 45%, Dundee at 49.6%, and in Perth and Kinross up at nearly 54%, so quite a significant bit higher than some of the other areas. In relation to the complaints, I've covered that in my sort of opening approach. What we have identified within the report, and say just to give that bit of context, the meal numbers up to the end of September, 2.3 million meals served. If you take that into consideration of those complaints that are reported on our dashboard, that's 0.002%. So a real small number, but not something that we take for granted. We're always looking to see what the complaints are and if there's anything that we can do round about that. With regards to climate change, we have the commitments in there through our climate change strategy. So the 3 focused areas: transport, waste and the use of utilities are the 3 areas. I'm pleased to say on the transport side that we've got nearly 92% of our fleet operating at low carbon or zero carbon vehicles. So that's either a Euro 6 engine or electric. 1/3 of our fleet now being electric, and are continuing to implement these changes through our climate change plan. On the health and safety side, again, we have got our accident figures that are up to the 6 months position. Nothing really concerning us within there. Our overall accidents are slightly higher than what they were at the same point last year, but overall we've got a sort of an ongoing sort of decline. So 54 compared to 57 last year, and 8 RIDDOR accidents, same as what it was at the same period last year. And then with regards to the sickness absence, we have been reporting that sickness absence has been higher post-COVID, and that's no different to what it's been across a number of the councils across Scotland. I'm pleased to say that our target of 6.2% of a sickness absence rate, and we're slightly below that at the 6-month position at 6%. So quite a positive position. Before I go on to some of the additional, I know there's been a few hands up. I'm quite happy to pause there to take up on that sort of the dashboard highlights, and then I can cover the sort of the 3 additional areas. Convener?
Yeah. Councillor Lee Mills, your hand was up, it's gone down again, but that could be a technical problem. Are you still wanting to speak?
Thanks, Convener. I think Dougie addressed it in his remarks, but just for a point of clarity for me, Dougie, what do we do with our food waste?
So food waste, there's two areas where we've got food waste. We've got food waste where we are producing the meals at Tay Cuisine, so at the central production unit. That's uplifted, it's very small amounts, uplifted through a food waste contract. And similarly through the school settings, so where the food is then taken out, that's dealt with through the school food waste contract. So whatever they've got for disposal of food, etc., within the 3 council areas, that's where that goes. So how that is actually specifically dealt with will be dependent on each of those contracts. Unfortunately, I don't have that information of what actually happens with the food waste. Don't know if I'm booking of no.
Councillor Grant Stewart.
Thank you, Chair. Dougie, you particularly highlighted the complaints and the sort of drop of meals in Perth and Kinross. With regards to the complaints, is that spread equally between the 3 areas, or you mentioned in your report about social media campaign that had an impact in school meals? Does that correlate to any of the complaints?
Not specifically. So as is shown within the report, so figure 3 gives the sort of overview of where the number of complaints have come from. So we've got that for 22-23, got 25-26. So the period reference in there, actually, of the 40 odd complaints, 6 are within Dundee, 15 within Perth and Kinross. Actually 19 of those originate from Angus Council areas, and then the 2 highest areas around about of reasons for the complaints are menu choices at 16 and adopted allergens at 9. As I said, I've not got any anecdotal information to say that some of the publicity has definitely had an impact, but we know just through information that we're hearing round about schools, etc., and some of the comments that were said, we believe has had an impact on that. But I've not got anything specific to back that up.
Thank you.
Councillor Shears.
It's Shires, just to say we get
Is it
mixed
Shires?
up with Councillor Shears, who's in Dundee, but that's just a minor point, Convener. Dougie, just to comment positively first off on the format of the report this time. I think there's been some subtle changes to it, but it makes it more readable and makes the key things we're trying to get through in the report much easier to pick out. So that's positive. And the second is a question at 5.7 in the report. It refers to the introduction of new products in secondary schools and engagement with young people to ensure the service remains attractive and competitive. Just to get a bit of detail around what those new products are and whether they have been successful, and also about how you engage with teenagers, because I think we'd all be interested in that.
Yeah, I don't actually have the details of the specific new project, new products, but what we do is we do engage through the school estate. So there's school councils, and we have an actual survey that we put out, and within the secondary schools there is also the app that we're using. So through engagement with the pupils, through use of the app and the uptake. What we're then doing is adjusting, if you want to say, some of the products that we can introduce. Don't know if there's anything. Again, I've got a booking strategic lead for facilities within that booking. Is there anything you want to?
There is no focus just now on product development, but it will be.
Yeah. So. As I said, I can find out some information around about the products that were put on. I'm quite happy to circulate that via an email to the joint committee members. And if there's anything you maybe didn't hear there through a booking is saying that we are currently engaging with the pupils within secondary schools in advance of the development for the new school menu for secondary schools to come into effect in 26-27, which would be April.
Councillor Martin Shepherd.
Thanks, Convener. In the report, I noticed that EV, electric vehicle usage, is up to 36.8%, which is great to see. I was just interested to know if you know, you might not, I might have to come back to me, but is there, what are the costs involved with the charging of that? Like, as a domestic users, I know they get a very cheap rate during the night, but we'll have some operational vehicles at night, like maybe snow ploughs and things. So do you have a commercial deal for a fixed rate, or maybe I just thought it'd be interesting to tease some of that detail out if possible? Thanks.
So there's nothing specific. So we're just tied into the electricity contract. So at this moment in time, there's nothing specific then for the use of EV vehicles. We have access to the use of that through various locations. So they're not all Tayside contracts establishments. So for example, within Dundee, we use a hub that's within there. Within Angus, we're able to use facilities at Kirriemuir Road and down at Kearney, but there's the long and the short answer is there is not a specific discounted rate for EV charging for ourselves.
Councillor Lynn Short.
Hi, just wanted to congratulate Tayside Contracts on the nominations for APSI and the ongoing relationship I know that you have with the organisation. I believe that you're very well thought of, and then I look forward to a meeting next week that I'll be chairing, where Tayside Contracts are going to talk about some of the exemplary work that they do. So congratulations with that. Also, within the report, I thought it was really heartwarming, the section about how you couldn't do any of it without the dedication of the staff. And that was very nice to read, and hopefully you do share that beyond the board and with the staff as well, please.
Councillor Brenda Durno. Sorry, was it you who were replying, or was it just a comment?
I think that was a comment that was being made. Yeah, appreciate that.
Sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Convener. Sorry, just going back to the app that we spoke about, I've actually had correspondence with iBooking last week about the app concerning one of my schools, Arbroath Academy. What I found out is that the children book their meals on the app the week before with their mum or their dad or whatever parent. But then, because now the children are not allowed to have their mobile phones at school anymore, they have to put them in a pocket in the morning. So they're not like corresponding with the app. Obviously have to try and remember what they're supposed to have ordered. But what they're finding is that the school there is just writing their names on a piece of paper on their meal. And when they get there, other children are taking their meals before they get there. So this was something that iBooking was looking into to see how we could sort of stop that, because obviously if they looked at their app, they could see I've ordered macaroni, but then when they get there and there's no macaroni. So I think that's something that maybe the other councillors could maybe look into at their schools to see if there's anything similar happening at their schools and see if we can rectify it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. It's something that actually was picked up. So there's this balance between the use of, clearly the use of phones within the school and the impact that was then going to be having on that. And we, so the dynamic approach for the pupils to actually be able to order something through that, but then not having their phone on them. So we ourselves are just finding out what impact that's going to have. Is that going to actually have an impact on some of the meal sales? So I'm pretty sure that Booking will get back to you with regards to those queries.
I think that's all the questions for just now. Do you want to continue with this?
Yeah, so within the report, there was 2 other areas I just wanted to highlight. So at the last meeting, there was a query around about the food waste, and it's already been brought up at committee today. And as advised, with the 3 council partners and Tayside contracts undertook a school meal plate waste pilot project. So within the report, I'll just highlight some of the areas from that. So in each of the 3 council areas, 4 primary schools between January of this year and April were initially engaged to undertake the school meal plate waste. Unfortunately, for a number of circumstances, there was actually only 2 in each of the areas, so 50% of those schools identified completed the full process, which then allowed us to be able to feed back. But hopefully you can see from within the report some positive results that we want to continue to work on. So as part of that pre-pilot to actually being completed, there was a 20% reduction in the plate waste, so nearly 365 kilos of plate waste. And that was just through the engagement with the schools, with the pupils, the waste warriors, etc. So real positive strides forward there, but we did pick up maybe reasons why that hadn't been as successful. So for a couple of the schools in each of the areas not to be able to complete the actual pilot project, and what could we do to improve on that. So the pilot project is going to be extended. There's additional schools within each of the 3 council areas are engaging within this, and what we're aiming to do, try and make sure this is embedded. So one of the, and I think through any change plan project, just by doing something once doesn't mean that behaviour changes. So we're going to continue to work on with those particular schools that engaged, and then the new schools. So meeting with head teachers, key staff to set out aims and objectives. It wasn't that hadn't been undertaken initially, but just learning that maybe needs to be emphasised a bit stronger, and opportunities for questions to be asked. Key to the waste warriors, so the kids themselves, having a bit more time to develop their own sort of posters and videos. The feedback was they felt that may have an additional benefit. And then lastly, within the food and nutrition team themselves, going out and about, that all relies on the capacity of the team, but we feel that further engagement with the food and nutrition team within the pilot process will help. But in summary, for me overall, I think a very positive project. Hopefully the joint committee members can see Tayside Contracts and the 3 council partners taking this project forward, something that has been mentioned on a number of occasions over a number of years that I've been able to sit in a joint committee. It will take some time, but we're started on that journey. The other thing, just want to pick up on, and Councillor Short had mentioned, so we had been shortlisted for 2 national awards at the recent APSI National Awards. So the Association of Public Sector Excellence, just for clarity, for those that don't know what APSI may stand for. Unfortunately, we weren't winners on the night, but for myself, actually being able to promote what Tayside Contracts are doing round about that joint partnership working. So that was one of the awards, was round about the Central Production Unit and the 3 councils coming together in the partnership to deliver a service. And the other one was round about decarbonisation, and decarbonisation across a lot of what we do within Tayside Contracts, but also a specific area round about idling. So real sort of positive news story there. I'm also pleased to say, hot off the press, that the APSI Performance Awards, so that's returns that are made. So those particular awards that I've just mentioned are submissions that we put in. each of the councils with regards to a number of their services, so transport, catering, cleaning, roads, do an annual submission return to APSE. That helps for benchmarking and also from a performance side of things. And we've been shortlisted specifically within Tayside contracts for transport for most improved and best performer for 25-26, and also our catering team for most improved. And then as a combination between the councils, we've also been identified for street lighting, most improved within Perth and Kinross, and best performing within Dundee street lighting as part of that partnership team, also being selected or shortlisted for a most improved. So a real positive on both those fronts. So one, when you're promoting yourself of what you're doing, but also just through the standard process of we have to return information, that's then analysed and they determine if we are meeting the requirements and if you are then going to be getting shortlisted, as I said, for recognition with regard to your performance. And lastly, within the quarterly performance report was round about the business plan action update. So prior to our review and an agreement of a rationalisation of reports for the joint committee, we would have normally put up a separate joint committee report with regards to the business plan. But one of the asks was to incorporate this within the performance report. Ideally, that would have been in the last committee meeting, but just with the changes that we've had, particularly managing director, other things, we weren't able to get that within that particular cycle. So this particular report gives the update on the actions within the business plan. So that was the business plan that was approved, 24-27 at committee. We have the actions within that. There's 36 actions identified within the business plan for ourselves to be progressing. Within the report, we've given in Appendix 1 a summary of how these are being progressed, and again had a RAG report on that. So 24 classed as being green or on track, 4 assessed as amber, so some minor issues that may be around about timing or just areas that we've not been able to progress, and 8 which have been determined as being completed. Those that haven't, so there's a number of those that are, and I'll be honest with you, that within that green there was a balance between saying, right, okay, if they were out with time-wise, did we put them as amber, or put them in as green, trying to be half glass full rather than half glass empty. But recognising that some of the dates have slipped on these, and that is, as has been identified within the report, that we've been going through this transition. So we've had the restructure within Tayside contracts, that bedding in within the year, getting new people in within post, changing managing director. Yes, I'm in here as continuity, but have been covering 2 jobs for 6 months. So not trying to lay too many excuses out there, but the reassurance that these have been picked up, they continue to get reviewed by our corporate leadership team, and within a couple of weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, we should be at full strength management-wise, and we'll be able to push on with some of the areas that maybe haven't progressed as quickly as we'd like. So that's me finished with that overview.
Councillor Lynn Short, do you want a question?
Yeah, it's my question probably is who doesn't want to go to Blackpool in December, which is presumably what faces you, Dougie, with regards to the APSE and the most recent nominations, which is excellent because obviously, as you say, that's not about putting yourself forward, that's actually the figures doing the talking for you. And I think probably quite important to explain the fact that each local authority has an APSE representative, but there is other local authorities partners, and Tayside Contracts is obviously one of those. So from putting yourself in the window point of view for the services that you're delivering on behalf of the 3 councils, is excellent to see this happening. But would you expect that this might be an opportunity for you to explore offering services to other local authorities, because you've got this good story to tell, Dougie?
It's definitely an opportunity to showcase what we can do. Quite clear, there's representation there from all over the UK. So this type of event, the other national events that we go to, the presentations that we put forward isn't just about that particular initiative. So the recent climate change, we gave an overview of what Tayside Contracts is about as a lead-in, the services that we offer, and then we will go over, if you want to say, the core of what the agenda is or what the ask is, but we will always take the opportunity to do that. The APSE Performance Awards, timing-wise, as you've just said, this is something that's happening on the, I think it's the 4th and the 5th of December, so literally 3 weeks away. Diaries are usually very full, so I'm probably going to be challenged to even get representation from our own internal management, just because it's not a case of not looking to go down. We have slimmed down, the capacity, the resource to be able to do that. So I just need to look at it, because it's hot off the press. This was literally Thursday, Friday last week that we were being advised of this good news.
Are there any more questions or comments? Don't be shy. If that's it, is this report noted? Noted. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6, external audit, annual report and final accounts, and members are asked to agree the recommendations.
Dougie, will you speak to this report?
Yeah, so before I introduce Peter and Ross, who are on here from Audit Scotland, just give a sort of a brief overview. I just wanted to recognise, so Councillor Short, there's a lot of work goes into the preparation of the annual accounts. Again, I'll continue to emphasise a small team of people within our finance team. I think they've been working very hard and in close liaison with Peter and Ross and the team here to get to where we are today. And I'd just like that to be recognised. Dan and our team have worked hard and continue to build that relationship with Audit Scotland. I'm seeing some real positive improvements made and step forwards with regards to the annual accounts, and it's about that working relationship. So as I've said, Peter Lindsay, the Audit Manager, and Ross Reid, the Senior Auditor, are available with us today from Audit Scotland. Peter will give a brief update, so I just want to pick out a couple of points myself, and both are available for any particular questions. So, as has been outlined, the report presents Audit Scotland's annual report. So that's Appendix 2 of the documents that you received, page 37, and also the audited final accounts, which is Appendix 3, page 73 of the documents that you received. So the unaudited annual accounts were presented at the Joint Committee and approved on the 23rd of June. So 18 report JC 1825. And then following the audit review, there's been some presentational adjustments to annual accounts. However, the distributable surplus remains unchanged from that reported in the unaudited accounts of 813k, which was versus the budget of 670. So there are details with regards to what the adjustments are within the report, 5.5.1. The auditors have also issued an unmodified audit opinion of our 24-25 annual accounts. So what that means is the financial statements and related reports are free from any material misstatement, which is really good. And again, hopefully Peter will back that up when he gives his own overview. The audit report highlighted a lot of good practice from the wider scope and best value review. That's highlighted within section 5.4. Significant findings are noted within 5.5. However, as we've covered, there isn't anything that's actually impacted on the bottom line. They were all presentational adjustments. And finally, before I hand over to Peter, there were 4 audit recommendations noted within section 5.6, and that also covers our management response. 2 actions are complete and 2 are in progress. So I'll hand over to Peter.
Thanks, Dougie. Just wanted to quickly introduce myself. I've taken over from Stephen O'Hagan as the appointed auditor for Tayside Contracts. I also currently manage the audits down in Dumfries and Galloway, the council and the health board being the main audits. Ross, I'm just going to pass over to Ross, and Ross is just going to briefly talk through the annual audit report.
Thanks, Peter, and thanks to the committee for having us. So, as we said, we would like to present to the committee our annual audit report for 24-25. It contains our findings and conclusions for the 24-25 audit. We also present to the committee our proposed independent auditor's report, which is on page 29 of your agenda pack. This includes our audit opinion, which, as Dougie said, is unmodified, which gives a true and fair view of Tayside Contracts affairs as at the 31st of March 2025. In addition, we have included our request for management representations, which is on page 33 of your agenda pack. This contains the representations we seek from the proper officer in relation to the financial statements. This is part of our standard protocol, and in relation to that, there's no particular matters we want to raise and draw the committee's attention to. Our annual audit report is included at page 37 of your agenda pack. As we said, this includes our findings and conclusions on the audit of the financial statements and the wider scope areas. As part of our standard procedure, we invite committee members to inform us of any instances of fraud, subsequent events, or areas of material non-compliance that they may be aware of prior to the certification of accounts. So please, once we've finished, please let us know. I would like to direct the committee's attention to our report. Key messages are included on page 3 of our report, which is page 41 of your agenda pack. Within our report, we've included our significant findings at Exhibit 2 and audit adjustments at Exhibit 3. I would note some slight typos in the report is when we've included hyperlinks, there seems to be a new line taken, so apologies for that, and that will be amended for the published version. Finally, I'd like to direct members to Appendix 1 of the report, which is page 64 of your agenda pack. This includes our recommendations for the 24-25 audit, which have all been accepted by Tayside Contracts, and as Dougie said, 2 of those recommendations have now been completed, and the other have been set target dates of January 2026 and July 2026. Also included within our appendix is the follow-up of prior recommendations. So we have included progress updates to these and where necessary revised target dates. So that's pretty much where we would like to get to and everything we would like to raise with committee. We would also like to give our thanks to the finance team, Diane and our colleagues for all their hard work throughout the audit process and making themselves available to us. So I'd like to hand back now and invite any questions from members.
Dougie, have you any more to say just now? Or?
No, nothing else from myself.
Any questions? Councillor Sheena McCall.
Thank you, convener, and thank you for the report. I would like to focus just a little bit on the recommendations, if I may, particularly, well, actually all of them, but in terms of relation to this joint committee. I'm just wondering, convener, whether or not, we talk about the periodic reporting to the joint committee, and particularly the risk that the joint committee may not be able to fulfil its governance and scrutiny role effectively. And I'm sure in other instances we've talked about this before, but I wonder if consideration could be given to, as part of our pack of documents, that there is a sort of forward work plan published, so that A, we would make sure these things wouldn't be omitted in error, but B, also that joint committee members would have some indication of what is likely to come before each committee on its cycle. So I would just request that perhaps some consideration be given to that, please.
Dougie, have you views?
So, Councillor McCall, are you talking about actually the papers that would be coming forward?
Yes. So there are other boards and committees that I sit on, and part of the standing agenda item is just a simple one side of A4 matrix that said these are all the agenda items that are discussed over the entire cycle of the year, and these are the committees that are likely to come forward to. So, for example, this committee would probably always have the annual accounts, audited report, etc., that we're having today. Every committee would have the usual reports and performance, etc. But there were some things that would be more periodic, and at least, and I certainly find it in other committees that I sit in as something that's been really helpful. So it's just something to give some consideration to, and then, you know, deadlines of items meant to be coming before the committee being missed, at least the committee members would know that it was meant to be there and be able to ask the questions why it's not.
I'm happy to give that consideration. As I outlined, I think, in relation to the quarterly performance report, we have had that rationalisation. We came forward with the reports that historically were coming to joint committee on a particular cycle, ones that would be included. So I'm quite happy to look at that and give consideration and be able to plot out, if you want to say, the core reports that we'd be expecting to come forward. As we all know, there is a request from committee to maybe bring some additional reports, which we then need to factor in.
Yeah, I totally agree, Dougie, and I think that would be really helpful. I think it would also help the conveners and vice conveners when they meet to be able to look ahead and say, well, what should be coming? Because very often we get recommendations and a date is given, and then it can slip by without anybody really recalling that when it was meant to come forward, unless they go back to the original report. And this gives us an opportunity to at least have some sort of forward plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions on this report? If not, can this report be approved? Don't see any. Yeah, that's approved.
Thank you. That takes us to item 7, Annual Performance Report 2022-2023. This is for approval.
Doug, will you speak to this report?
Yeah, thank you, Convener. Before I start, just want to apologise and note that the particular appendix for the 24-25 committee report that was referenced wasn't issued out with the initial pack. We picked it up late last week, so you maybe felt you got bombarded a bit, sent out through Ashley, my PA, a link to a flipbook, and Laura later on Friday afternoon put out a supplementary. So before I continue, is everyone happy enough they've had the appropriate time to be able to review that particular paper? So I made reference to that within the covering report, but you didn't have the actual annual report to review. If there is, I'm quite happy to adjourn for 5 or 10 minutes for people to get the opportunity to look, or I'm quite happy to progress.
Councillor Ken Lynn.
Hi, I wonder if you would maybe like to finish your introduction before I ask my question. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, if everyone's happy for me to continue, yeah. And if there is anything, once I go over the report, that anyone wants to be able to come back even after committee, I'm quite happy to approach it in that way as well. So we'll give an overview of our annual performance report 24-25. So this ties in with the requirement of the Local Government Scotland Act 2003. Tayside Contracts is required to produce an annual performance report, which has been appended. What I would say, unlike the 3 councils, there is not specific structure to who that report should be laid out and the particular indicators. So this is something that's been developed by Tayside Contracts over a number of years and has been well received. I think in the last at least couple of meetings where this has been presented, it's actually had positive responses back to the contents and how it's been laid out. So the format of the annual performance report ties in with the key areas of our business plan, so our strategic priorities, confidence, people and relationships being one, commercial approach, collaboration and sharing, continuous improvement in performance, and communities, councils and customers. So that's the overarching sort of principles of the annual performance report to tie back to the business plan. Section 1 of the report provides a high-level overview of areas that we've picked up on in relation to these strategies. Section 2 goes into more detail around about the performance and action. So we've laid that out as key highlights, giving some case studies, and then also identifying what some of the key pressures and next steps are. And then within section 3 of the report, it gives an overview of our business plan, KPIs, and also a summary of what we refer to as an efficiency statement, but it has a combination of both areas that we have implemented through change, or where there has been, if you want to say, an efficiency cost saving. For myself, it's a real, again, positive. It's a positive day today, demonstrating that we are progressing in a lot of areas. There are points where we can continue to improve, and again, try to get that balance within the report. Conscious of the readership of this has to cover quite a wide range. A forward-facing public document for yourselves as joint committee members to understand that we are progressing. It can also be picked up by other stakeholders that we engage with, and it can also be something that somebody could, as a potential customer, come to look at. So there is a balance here of making sure we're as being open and transparent. And I feel personally that we've got that balance within the report. So the 24-25, it was, and I know it's a bit back, we're just about the end of 2025, the way it going to 26. But the global economies across, both UK and world had a big impact still on the services that we were delivering in 24-25. Areas that additional budget pressures, we had inflationary increases, we had pay awards, all continued to present the challenges. But some of the key points, we managed to continue to improve on the school meal uptake. So we increased that by 3.6% on the baseline from the previous year. We were able to increase our external commercial income by 1.5 million. So that was up to a total of 7 million and was 7% of our overall total income. We continued to go through that change plan process, so delivering savings, efficiencies, looking at cost reductions. We're able to bring that into the envelope of 900,000 of savings efficiencies within 24-25. Our community fund continued to deliver on its key aims, so supporting 28 groups, delivering local empowerment projects. And as I said, despite all those ongoing challenges that we've highlighted in other reports throughout the year, recruitment difficulties being one, sickness absence being another, budgets, we still managed to deliver all the services across the council areas without any service failure, which again is an outstanding achievement for all those that are involved. A couple of last things I just want to pick up on. This was the introduction, so in 24-25, as a feedback to the supported self-assessment, how we were able to make performance information more accessible to members. So the launch of the performance dashboard, giving the joint committee members direct access to the key performance information, which, as I've already said, will continue to develop. And finally, within section 3 of those 17 business plan key performance indicators, 14 of these achieved the target which we were looking to meet. 2 were in amber and 1 was red. And that 1 red is the one that we've already picked up on, part of the quarterly performance report, which was down to the complaint side. So I'm happy to take any questions in relation to our annual performance report.
Councillor Ken Lynn.
Yeah, thanks very much. I thought the report was excellent. I'm new to Tayside contracts, as you know, but there's certainly very little in the annual performance report which would keep me awake at night, which is not the case for some of the other committees and bodies that I sit on. The thing that I wanted to ask about was on page 46, leadership, the KPI is management performance, where the target was for more than 85% of employees to be assessed as competent or excelling. The actual outcome was 85%. Does that mean that 15% of our employees are not competent or excelling? And one other observation is it would be quite useful for me to see in a future report the percentage which were assessed as being competent, and and also the percentage, a separate percentage of those who were excelling.
So it doesn't, and it's again, once we get into these particular indicators and as we've laid them out, it doesn't mean that 15% of the workforce, and if you're saying 2,500 workforce that are deemed not to be competent, that's not what it's outlining. So it's maybe something that we just need to be looking at how we're referencing that particular indicator. Is that fair enough to say, Leanne?
Sorry. Councillor McCall.
Thank you, convener. I just want to make a comment that publishing this appendix at 10:18 on a Friday morning before a committee at 10 a.m. on a Monday morning is completely unacceptable. I have not had time to read it. There's a good reason why committee reports are published in advance to give us sufficient time to prepare and plan. Now, maybe everybody else has free Fridays to do these things, but I certainly didn't. And so for that reason and that reason alone, I think this whole report should have been pulled until all of the committee members had adequate time to properly examine the appendix that was published. And I have a supplementary question to that. I noticed in the audit report there was a recommendation that the business plan would be updated at this committee, and I had hoped it would be part of this annual report, but I don't see that either. So I'm wondering where that is.
So I'm quite happy to pick both those points up, Councillor McCall. That was the point I was making before I introduced this report. I apologised. The report was available, went through pre-agenda, has been available for some time, just hadn't been put within the documents, and unfortunately hadn't picked that up right it came till Thursday evening. I've been working off of the previous papers. I hadn't taken that information. So that was why I paused to see if there was any issues, and I'm quite happy to be able to take that back. In relation to the second point about the business plan update, that's what has been included within the quarterly performance report on the business plan, the update, and the appendix on that. That's where that particular update that would normally have come up as a separate report, but was asked to be included, and for the reasons that were given within the audit findings, yes, that normally would have come up in August, but just through the changes, and again, it came into the report today. So,
thanks. Jig, can you put your mic off?
Any more?
Yeah, Dougie, I actually had my hand raised as soon as you mentioned that point, Dougie, which is why I'm only bringing it up now. So I just don't think it's acceptable that something comes out that late and an apology. It's just I have not had time to read the report, which is really disappointing. And I do think the business statement should actually have been a separate, or the business plan update should have been a separate report, not a combined one in the depths of something else. So I'm very unhappy about just how this particular meeting has been structured. I just want that noted, please. Thank you.
Be noted. Any more questions or comments? None. Can this be approved?
Thank you. That takes us to item 8.
Sorry, convener. I would just like it noted that I can't prove it because I didn't have sufficient time to read the papers.
Yes, I says that will be noted.
Thank you.
Thank you. That takes us to item 8, internal audit plan for 2025-2026. This is for approval.
Dougie, again, do you wish to speak to this report?
Yep, I'm happy to speak to the report, convener. Before I continue with this particular report, I will acknowledge within the minute we had a discussion round about the annual audit report at the last meeting in August, and there's a request for some additional information to be brought back to committee. I just want to advise that that's not been missed. It will be brought back to committee. It just wasn't, I would say, on my radar and agenda for it having to come back to this specific committee. So I just wanted to make everyone aware that that's something that we will be following up on and providing the information as it was requested. So with regards this particular report itself, this is the report presents Henderson Logie's internal audit operational plan, which is included as Appendix 1 for 25-26. So the internal audit plan is based on the number of allocated days for 25-26 set out within our audit needs assessment, and strategic plan 23 to 26. That particular plan was prepared in conjunction of looking at the overall strategic objectives within Tayside Contracts, involved Tayside Contracts senior management team and elected members of the Joint Committee. So what the report lays out is the areas that we'll be looking to cover this particular year. So health and safety is a particular area, environmental sustainability, including energy management, ICT network arrangement, cyber security and disaster recovery, ICT project management, Zealous system integration. So that is our HR system that's been implemented, and lessons learned. In addition to that, there is the follow-up reports and the annual report. I'm pleased to say that I've got Steve McNaught, who was here at August Joint Committee from Henderson and Logie. He is here to be able to provide any further overview to that particular audit plan for 25-26, and if there's any questions that the committee may have with regards that particular plan.
Is there any questions? No questions. Can this report be approved? Hold on.
Sorry, convener. Convener. There was a wee bit of a delay there. I'm just curious about. Sorry, there's a mic on somewhere. Thank you. I'm just curious about some of the there's still a mic on. Thank you. I'm still curious about some of the recommendations that came forward from the external auditor, particularly around staff training, and whether or not we should be looking at the progress of those recommendations as part of the internal audit work. Is there any reason why we shouldn't be doing that?
So I'd say the points obviously picked up from the external audit we've implemented to. We'll continue the commitment to the specific ones within the external audit. Want to give the reassurance that that's something that we are progressing. So we have external audit as we do, and if you want to say the actions in that, how we progress that. The internal audit, the whole idea of having that plan and looking ahead is, I would suggest, is similar to what has been requested about having a structure to reports that are coming up. I would say that we are, this is the end of that particular period of that 23-26, the actual contract with Henderson Logie is up at the end of this year, so we've got to look at what we're going to do round about that, and we'll be looking at the future, and I'll make the reference to the audit universe. What do we want to plan out for the next 4 to 5 years with regards to an audit? So within that could be in relation to the training. I can't recall, I've not got it specifically here, but I think, right, okay, but again, I can clarify with committee, over the cycle of this 23-26, training was involved as part of an audit. So we went back and said, right, okay, what was the audit plan? That was already within that. So we can then put that within the next cycle. And absolutely, that would link in with recommendations that may come through from external reports, external audit, our annual governance statement, what we're looking at. So we've got a number of areas that we look at. Similarly, the risk register. So these all feed into what we should be considering as part of that future internal audit. And I know that Steve and the team at Henderson Logie initially sat down and basically we provided them with all the information that we had, and they came forward and recommended, following that liaison with stakeholders, of what we should be incorporating through that 4-year audit plan.
Steve McNaught.
Yeah, just to follow up, really, the point that was made in the external audit report was training for a specific issue, and management will provide an update on that progress as we move through the year. When we look to develop our internal audit plans, there's obviously a timing sort of lag here in terms of us developing our plan, and the external audit producing their recommendations in their report, which is brought to this committee. But if there was actions come out of any other assurance source which indicated that training was an issue for the organisation, then we would reflect that in our plans, as we are a risk-based audit service. So if we thought there was an increased risk due to lack of training, that would definitely be reflected in the objectives of our audits going forward. For example, we're looking at health and safety in 25-26, and one of the objectives there is to make sure that people's training is aligned with operational and organisational requirements.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Thank you. Is there any more questions or comments? If not, can this report be approved? Agreed.
Thank you. That takes us to item 9, risk register for Tayside contracts. The committee is asked to agree the recommendations.
Dougie, would you wish to introduce this report?
Okay, thanks again, Convener. So this is an annual review of our risk register, which is reviewed again on a quarterly basis by the corporate leadership team. I would say that when we presented this last year, we had a discussion round about ongoing training, engagement and overview with regards potential joint committee stakeholder engagements. There was a request to do that, then we were asked to put that on hold pending the outcome of a couple of reviews. So again, just want to give that reassurance and back to the point that Councillor McCall is making, that one of the things I'm conscious of is to ensure that any commitments that we have either made through committee or through reports are captured, and we make sure that we're following up on these. So in that particular item, we have been engaging with Henderson and Logie round about an opportunity. Doesn't mean we definitely will go down that particular route, but round about sort of risk appetite, an overview that can assist the joint committee in working with myself and other senior managers within the organisation about taking our risk register forward. So just want to give the reassurance that that's not something that's been missed, and will continue to be given consideration, and I think we'll follow on the back of the update that I'm giving here today in relation to our risk register. So the report contains our corporate risk register. There are 24 risks identified within the register, covering compliance, governance, finance and people. Prior to any mitigation consideration, there were 7 identified as being very high, 8 is high, 9 is significant, and there was none in the moderate to low category. After the mitigation, which has been detailed within the register, they were all those that were very high had managed to be downgraded. So there was none that were high, none that were very high, 2 that were high, 11 that were significant, 11 then identified to be moderate, and 0 as low. So, and we continue to work through these and deal with any of the issues that that may arise, to be able to deal with mitigation, or if mitigation isn't going to be possible, what that impact is going to be. The issues that we still have to continue to consider are not changing. There is no material changes I'm finding year on year when we're looking at our overall risk register. The key one, and I've touched on already today, is in relation to the ongoing significant pressures that are on public sector finance, both within the UK and across Scottish governments, and we don't see that changing anytime short. Similar to other organisations, those higher levels of sickness absence and challenges around about recruitment and pre-pandemic still continue to be something that we need to have a key focus on. As I've picked up in earlier reports, I'm pleased to say, in relation to that sickness absence, we're seeing that beginning to ease off from where it was at the sort of the high points of coming back to COVID, but we're still not down at the levels of what we were pre-COVID. Cyber security, as we'll all have seen within the press, not something that's just affecting big multinational organisations. It has been affecting a number of local authorities within Scotland over the last 12 months. So an area that we are well aware of, as again we've reported previously. So our cyber security, we went through an assessment called Cyber Essentials certification, so UK government-backed standard. We achieved that, so having the necessary mechanisms, processes, procedures in place to deal with as effectively as you can. Cyber attacks, we were able to demonstrate we had that, but it's not something that we are resting on our laurels. It's an area that we continue to be vigilant on. In our insurance policy this year, we actually took out cyber security insurance, which was offered and made available to us, which we've taken up, and I say we'll continue to work on. So I'm pleased to say that there is nothing that's come through from the risk register that really need to highlight to say, right, okay, we are, this is an imminent issue that we're not able to address.
Any questions? No questions, no comments? No comments. Councillor McCall.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd quite like to congratulate Tayside Contracts on the improvements to the risks, or the reduction of the risks after mitigation. I think that's very welcome, and I'm very aware that these things don't come easily. I have a specific question around procurement. You state under maximising shared service opportunities with constituent councils that we are part of a collaborative procurement across the councils and Tayside Contracts, i.e. the Tayside Procurement Consortium Governance Group. I'm just wondering what percentage of our business goes through that group, and when would we use that instead of using Scotland Excel?
So what I would say is that we are, so again, I made reference on a couple of occasions today around about the supported self-assessment and what Tayside Contracts could do to strengthen things and working relationships with the councils. So it's not specifically an actual, procurement route. It's engaging with the three councils to understand what types of contracts that they have that may be coming up that we can actually engage in directly with them. So that's through, and I'm not saying it's not an initiative, it was an action through strengthening collaboration. So we're meeting and have met with all three councils a number of times, met most recently with Perth and Kinross Council just a couple of weeks ago, 4th of November, and have been invited along to the corporate procurement group so that we can discuss what Tayside Contracts are able to undertake, similar to what has been referenced here, map out where there are opportunities into the future, and if these can actually come to Tayside Contracts directly, because the Minute of Agreement allows us to, or at least to have far earlier sight of the types of contracts that the councils may be putting out through a direct process themselves. So that, if you want to say procurement, the Tayside Procurement Consortium, they used to actually be the procurement team. They don't exist anymore. It's more of a cooperative between the three council and procurement teams getting together, not actually doing the procurement as one.
Thank you, that's very helpful.
Councillor Martin Shepherd.
Thanks, Convener. Just to comment on the two risks that have gone from very high down to high, one being budget reductions. I just wondered if that's forecast, is there a chance of expanding Tayside Contracts? I know we spoke about it before, but into other councils such as like Fife Council or other neighbouring councils that expand and just give us a bit more scale? Is that something that could help to mitigate that in the future? And just on the holiday pay one, I noticed that that's been a change since 2019. Do you think that, based on the outcome of that tribunal, do you think that could perhaps in the future come off the risk register and just become standard practice for terms and conditions, or do you think it will go the other way? Thanks for that.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Shepherd. Say on the first area, so the number of things that we're looking at. So we've got that strengthening collaboration, which is looking to build and develop working relationships with the three councils. So as a standalone, and then through the business planning and the objective of trying to maximise our commercial income is about going out and seeing if there's other areas that we can do that, and we're actively undertaking that, and have been with a number of councils, particularly around about the school meal service. As said, we can present everything that we can do. We can, so it comes down to we can lead the horse to water, but we can't make it drink, and that's definitely the challenge within the commercial setting. It's not always, people say, well, what is it? Is it because you're too expensive? That's not necessarily the case. It's because it just doesn't actually fit with what somebody is looking for. So just given the assurance that we have what we call a collaboration in commercial matrix, so looking at both, and continue again to review these as a team. So there's senior managers within the team are given responsibility to follow up on any particular leads. So it's definitely something that we're looking at, and as a way of dealing with those particular challenges. But that does come with risk as well. On the last one round about holiday pay, that's something as an action that's come forward and had the potential to be a significant cost to Tayside contracts. Hopefully, we're not far away from that being resolved. And once that was been resolved, then that's something that would come off, just as it would be if there was something like an equal pay or something else that comes back in. You've heard the Glasgow, the Birminghams. If there was an action to be lodged, then we would definitely be putting it within the register here.
Any more questions? Any comments? No comments. Can this report be agreed?
Thanks. That takes us to item 10, programme of meetings. Members are asked to approve the programme of meetings for 2026.
Is that agreed? Agreed.
Thank you. That takes.
Sorry, apologies, Convener and Clerk. At the preceding meeting that we had this morning of Tayside Valuation Joint Board, there was some issues raised or some questions raised about both the timing, well, mainly the timing of that meeting. But I know that both of these are normally run back to back. This is maybe something more for the clerks than perhaps the conveners. But I'm just wondering. I think there was a commitment made to do a bit of a survey around the members of the Tayside Valuation Joint Board, so it may be worthwhile liaising with the relevant people in Tayside Valuation Joint Board, simply because these meetings, like I said, have always, as far as I'm aware, run back to back with each other.
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate. Dougie and the other conveners of.
Thanks very much, Convener, and I appreciate what Councillor McCall has indicated there. Similar to the Valuation Board, I believe at that time we were asked to survey the members on their thoughts on days and times of these particular meetings, and I think from what you're saying, you're asking for the same to be done for this particular joint committee also, to survey the members on that to see when they would wish these meetings to be held and at what time.
But because they've always worked, and beside each other, these two meetings, I just wanted to make sure that this committee was aware of what was agreed at the Tayside Valuation Joint Board immediately preceding this committee, and that a survey of those members will be undertaken. And given that a number of members on the Tayside Valuation Joint Board are also members of this committee, mainly because of the back-to-back nature of these meetings and the timing of them, it might have a knock-on impact. And so I think consideration should at least be given to whether or not the survey is expanded to include Tayside contracts just for completeness. I'm fairly relaxed about the whole thing, one way or the other. They don't have to be, I suppose, back to back with each other. But I think for a lot of people, particularly those who travel, it's more convenient to have them back to back. And I'm sure it's quite convenient for the clerks and the committee support officers to manage their time in the running of these meetings. So it was really just to make you aware and to suggest that perhaps you liaise with your counterparts on the Tayside Valuation Joint Board. That was all.
Thanks very much, Councillor McCall. I'll mention this to the clerk out with the meeting also, and in light of the decision taken also at the Valuation Board and how we take that forward. But in the meantime, I imagine the Joint Committee is happy to agree the programme as it's currently indicated on the agenda. Okay, thanks very much.
Thanks. That takes us to item 11, date of next meeting. This will be Monday, 23rd of March 2026 at 10 a.m. in the Council Chamber in Forfar and also remote, and this is for noting. Thank you. We are now moving to the confidential part of the agenda. Do members agree to exclude press and public and consider the remaining items in private?